welcome to our online service, everyone. Hope you all are doing great. Today we are in week 3 of this amazing sermon series called Pray Like Crazy. Now, I don't know if you've already started to pray like crazy, but if you haven't, start today. We are going to get into the words soon, but before that, we are going to get into the time of giving. Giving is an expression of our thankfulness and praise to God. It comes with the realization that everything that we have and give already belongs to our God. Now, there are various ways of giving online. You can choose any one of the payment methods. All the details will be down on your screen below. We want to thank you for supporting our ministry. Now, let's get into the word.
It's time for the sermon. Let me first welcome everyone who's joining us online. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this service today, to watch this sermon today. I believe God has a powerful word like never before, which is going to transform you like never before. And everyone in the room, we love you, right? Everyone here at Limitless. Yeah, they're cheering for you. Some are not. Some don't love you, but others love you, right? Majority of the room loves you, and we cannot wait to meet with you one day. But everyone here in the room, so glad you're here for this sermon. Like I said, this is a very different sermon. Okay, let me say this about this sermon. It's a very different sermon because I've never preached on this ever before. As you know this, maybe some of you don't know this, some of you do, but we are in the middle of a sermon series that we are calling what? Pray like crazy. Shout it out with me one more time. Pray like crazy. This is such an important sermon series. This is such a powerful sermon series. And it's not powerful because I'm preaching it, okay? It's not powerful because of the noise we are making, because of the hype around, because of social media and the posts we are putting up. This is powerful because of the topic of this sermon series. It is powerful because it is about prayer. And prayer is powerful, right? Prayer is powerful. Why? Because prayer produces power. The number one source of power in your life, the number one source of power in the life of a Christian is prayer. Prayer can produce power in your life like nothing else can produce power in your life. Prayer is powerful. Prayer is very, very powerful. But somehow, prayer doesn't sound very powerful, right? When I say the word prayer, it doesn't sound like something powerful, does it? When I say the word prayer, and apart from the sermon series, okay, pretend you've not been part of the sermon series. Just pretend you've never come here before, you've never heard the sermon series before, you've never heard any sermons in the last 2 weeks before. When I say the word prayer, the picture that comes to your mind is a picture of someone with folded hands, right? Folded hands, head bowed down, kneeling, eyes closed, right? A tear even, maybe. Dark clouds. Gloominess, right? It's a picture of gloominess. In fact, if you Google the word prayer or Christian prayer, if you Google it, go to Google Images, you can try this at home, then the pictures that show up are these pictures. Right? You can't even see them because of the blackness in the pictures. Right? Can you see these pictures? This is what prayer looks like. According to Google, right? Google tells us that this is prayer, right? But who told Google that this is prayer? Google doesn't pray, right? Like, who told Google that prayer looks like this? Let me tell you who. We told Google that prayer looks like this. And by we, I don't mean Limitless Church. By we, I mean Christians. Christians told Google that prayer, by the way, looks like this. Right? Because according to Christians, most Christians around the world, prayer looks like this. According to popular Christian culture, prayer looks like this. But this is not a picture of power. Right? This is not a picture of power. None of these pictures really are a picture of power. If you look at it, and if you didn't know what prayer was, you ask someone, hey, can you describe these pictures? Someone would say, oh, this is a picture of weakness, right? This is a picture of desperation. This is a picture of gloominess. It's very sad. Because prayer doesn't sound very powerful. We're used to prayer. We're used to hearing about prayer so much in our Christian journey. But what we know about prayer is that prayer is not very powerful. Prayer doesn't sound very exciting, right? Prayer doesn't sound like something cool. Prayer is not as cool as worship, right? Now, worship is cool. Come on now. Worship is the cool thing to do in Christianity. Right? Worship is way cooler than prayer. In fact, worship makes Christianity cool. In fact, if you type the words worship in Google, the images that show up are way cooler than the images of prayer. Let me show you. This is what worship looks like. Isn't this way cooler? Yeah, let me compare prayer and worship. Yeah, that is prayer and that is worship on the right. This is how worship looks like, right? Everybody loves worship. Come on now. Everyone loves worship. Worship is exciting. Worship is fun, right? You love to go for worship events. You love to go for worship concerts. You don't like to go for prayer meetings. When you hear the word prayer meeting, you think about some boring people, quiet, you don't like to stay there too long, right? But worship concert, man, there's going to be lights, music, sound, everybody. That's why everyone wants to be the worship leader, right? Everyone signs up for the worship team, by the way. When you have sign-ups for volunteers, everybody signs up for the worship team, right? Because worship team is the cool team, right? Worship leaders are always the good-looking ones, right? The best-looking people. Have you seen these guys? Don't you see this guy? Don't you think our worship team is the best-looking worship team in India? Yeah. What about the rest? I know you guys are very talented. You guys are amazing worship leaders, amazing musicians. But even though we produce such amazing music, people still talk about us, right? People still call us names, they call us cult and all those things. At least we look good, right? At least they can't say anything about looks. And that's a big thing for me, okay? I'm sorry, I love looks, okay? But at least we have the best looking worship team in the country. But worship leaders are always the trendy ones. They're always the fashionable ones, right? They're always dressing up like very different. You wanna know what's trending? Look at the worship leaders, right? Like Fraser, okay? Fraser one day, he led worship with short pants, yellow socks, and flip-flops. Right? Short pants, yellow socks, and flip-flops. He led worship. But it's okay. It's cool because he's a worship leader, right? If I had to preach with short pants, yellow socks, and flip-flops, man, you would crucify me. They would bury me, raise me up from the dead, and crucify me again. My red shoes are already a problem, by the way. Like, have you heard the pastor wears red shoes and black clothes? You know, red and black is the color of hell, right? He's straight from hell. But worship is cool, right? Everyone loves worship. We all love worship. Worship makes us feel good. Worship connects us with God. Worship brings us in the presence of God. Worship takes our worries away. Worship brings peace to us, right? Worship connects us with the presence of God. But here's the thing, you should know this. If you only worship and you don't pray, your worship is powerless. Worship without prayer is worship without power. Let me say that one more time. Worship without prayer is worship without power. If you only worship after some time, long enough, worship will be nothing more than feelings and emotions. Because here's the difference. You should know this about worship and prayer, okay? Worship brings you into the presence, right? Worship brings you into the presence, but prayer pulls the power from the presence. Worship moves your heart. Prayer moves your mountains. Worship calms your soul. Prayer calms your storms. Worship is powerful, but prayer produces power. And if you don't pray, you won't have power in your life. What's the use of living your life as a Christian if you don't have power? Right? The source of power in your life is prayer. Prayer produces power. No prayer, no power. No prayer, no power. Tell that to your neighbor. Turn to your neighbor and say, no prayer. Just like you say, no justice, no peace, no prayer, no power. Come on. Because you need power, right? You need power. You know this already. Some of you know this. You all are struggling. You all are like, man, life sucks. Everything sucks. I don't know. Whenever you say, I don't know what to do, it means you have a lack of power. Everyone needs power today. You cannot live this life here on earth without power. And I'm not talking about physical power. Okay? It's great if you have physical power. It's great if you have those big muscles, okay? You look good. But you won't be, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be successful, right? Physical power doesn't necessarily make you successful. Not today, especially today. You don't need physical power as much as you need mental power. Today is the day of mental power. Today is the day of the mind, right? The most successful people today are the ones with a powerful mind. It's all about inventions, ideas. It's all about intelligence. It's all about information. It's about what you do with the information that you have, right? It's all about the ones with the best minds rule the world. So you need mental power. You need the power of your mind. But even a powerful mind fails. Even the most powerful minds fail. And we know this today more than ever before because of the pandemic. Right? The pandemic taught us that even the most powerful minds could not stop this pandemic. We have more powerful minds than we've ever had in the history of our world. And yet today, they could not prevent the pandemic from happening. In fact, forget about preventing the pandemic. Even the most powerful minds still cannot tell us how it all started. Right? First they told us it's because someone ate a bat. Then they told us it was bat soup. Right? And then they are saying it might not even be a bat. It might be something else. We still don't know. Even the most powerful minds on the planet still cannot stop, could not prevent the worst pandemic on the planet. So what is power? What's real power? If physical power is not real power, if the mental power also fails, then what is power really? Pandemic taught us one more thing. This pandemic taught us that nothing is in our control. Right? Even the most powerful minds cannot control anything. Even politicians cannot control anything. World leaders cannot control anything. Nothing is in our control anymore. This is what we learned. Our economy is not in our control. Our health is not in our control. Our jobs is not in our control. Our future is not in our control. Our lives are not in our control. Right? Nothing is in our control. And that is the most scariest thing in the world. It's absolutely scary not to have control. Why? Because for human beings, the most powerful thing in the world is to have control. We human beings, we are controlling beings. We love to control. We love to take control. For us, power is the power to control. We are wired that way. We are designed that way. Where everything, that's a human nature. We love to take control of things, right? Think about this now. Think about this. From the time you were a small kid, from the time you were growing up, you started taking control, right? Why did you study well? Why did you study hard? Because you wanted to be in control of your future. Right? Why did you go to the best college or try to go to the best college? Because you wanted to be in control of your future, right? You wanted to do well in college because you wanted to have control over your future, right? Someone told you get married. The sooner you get married, the more in control you'll be about your future. And then you realize, no, but then if I get married, my wife controls everything, right? If you buy a house, you'll be in control of your future. Have investments, you'll have more control over your future. All your life, you've been trying to take control of your life. The one thing you've been trying to do more consistently in your life is trying to take control of your life. Everyone is trying to take control of their lives, right? And then you come to church. And then you have an encounter with God. You fall in love with Jesus. You start following Jesus and you realize that this Christian life is not a life of taking control. In fact, this Christian life is quite opposite. This Christian life is a life of giving up control. This Christian life is a life where you take the control over your life and give it to Jesus. And not just one area, but all areas of your life, right? You're giving control to Jesus. And then you fall down on your knees, you throw your hands up high, you cry out to Jesus and you say, Jesus, I surrender all. I surrender all. Right? All? All. Right? I surrender all. You know that song? I surrender all. I'm not going to sing it, don't worry. I'm not that pastor who sings, by the way, okay? I'll never break out in a song during a sermon. That's not something I do. Hold your horses, please. But you sing that song, right? You sing, I surrender all. You say, I surrender all. You pray, I surrender all. You surrender all on a Sunday, but on a Monday, you go back to your life of taking control, right? On a Sunday, you're on your knees, you're like, Jesus, everything in my life, right? You'll do actions and, you'll flow in worship, you'll do everything. But on a Monday, you're back trying to take control over everything of your life. I cannot reach there, but I'm trying to grab everything that I can. This is what you look like on a Sunday, by the way. You're trying to take control of everything that you can, right? You're trying to take control, but it's like grabbing and holding tight onto sand. The tighter you hold, you realize that it's gone. You're trying to take control of everything, but somehow it's not happening, right? That's your struggle, by the way. That's the struggle. Let me ask you an honest question, okay? It's time to be honest. Ready to be honest? No Christian answers, only honest answers. Think about the last 6 days gone by. Forget about the Sunday, because Sunday you're a different person. The real days are from Monday to Saturday, okay? Think about the last 6 days. Think about Monday to Saturday. And think about all the problems that you faced. All the obstacles that you faced. And think about this. Think about your first response to your problems. Not your best response, not the Christian response, but your first response. Honestly, what was your first response? Was your response, God is in control? Or was your response, what should I do about this? What was your response? If you're honest now, then most people in this room, most people watching online, your first response to problems is, what should I do about this? Right? Because that's your default setting. That is that button that you press first. When there's a problem, you press this button and you go. You try to take control. That is who we are. And you realize something. When you try to take control of your situations, you cannot pray. You cannot pray. You just cannot pray. You cannot pray like crazy. When you're trying to take control of your situations, you just cannot pray. So today I want to preach about a topic which is called The prayer before the prayer. The prayer before the prayer. I don't think I've ever heard a topic like this before. I don't think there is a topic like this in Christianity, but I believe this is the word of God for you, and this is so, so key in making you pray like crazy. The prayer before the prayer. Open your Bibles to 2 Kings chapter 6. 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 15. I'll read from 15 to 17. 2 Kings 6, 15 to 17. You ready? Yes. You there? When the servant of the man of God got up and went out early next morning, an army of horses and chariots had surrounded the city. "Oh no, my lord, what shall we do?" the servant asked. "Don't be afraid," the prophet answered. "Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And then Elisha prayed, "Open his eyes, Lord." Say this with me. "Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see." And then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and he saw the hills were full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Crazy story, powerful story. I preached on this story before a couple of times, right? You remember this? But today I just want to focus on one part of the story. I just want to focus on one line. I want to focus on the prayer before the prayer. Right? But before that, let me give you a little background about Elisha. Elisha was this famous prophet. He was very famous. In fact, he was so accurate. He was so accurate that he could know the words you're speaking in the privacy of your bedroom. Right? Good, it didn't say bathroom, but it says bedroom. Right? He would speak, he would listen to the words you're speaking in your bedroom. Like imagine having a friend like that. I don't know about you, I wouldn't want a friend like that, okay? Like I would never be friends with a prophet like that, because you can't be naughty with your wife then, right? Because he'll know everything. He will know everything, right? It's one thing when you don't know that he knows. But when you know that he knows, man, it's so awkward, right? It's even more awkward to be friends with someone if he knows that you know that he knows. Right? Imagine that. Like, this is so messed up. So, you cannot be friends with someone like this. You cannot also be enemies with someone like this. Because he'll expose you, right? Every night he'll expose you. You cannot be a hater of someone like this. I wish I had powers like that. Man, all my haters, I wish I could know what they were doing in their bedroom. And this is exactly what he did. This is exactly what he would do. When the king of Aram, everyone say Aram. Turn to your neighbor and ask them, do you know who's Aram? Turn to your other neighbor and say, I don't know either. Aram was the enemy of the Israelites, okay? And the king of Aram, whenever he wanted to attack Israel, and he would make all these plans, Elisha the prophet, he would hear all these plans. And he would go to the king of Israel and tell the king. So in this way, Israel was always aware of all the attacks. They were always ready. And this got the king of Aram so angry. He was like, I don't care if he knows what I speak in my bedroom. I don't care anymore. I am going to kill this guy. So he sends his entire army, his best soldiers, horses and chariots to capture one guy. Right? Just one guy. But it turns out there were two guys. There was Elisha and there was Elisha's servant living in the same house. And we'll pick up the story here. This is what happens. One morning, the servant wakes up. He goes to his balcony for no apparent reason. I don't know why people go to their balconies in the morning, but he goes to the balcony. He stretches, and this is what he sees. Everyone say sees. Say sees one more time. This is what he sees. Check this out. An army with horses and chariots had surrounded the city. This is what he sees, right? Say sees one more time. This is what he sees, but then check out what he says. He says this. He says, oh no, my Lord, what shall we do? What he was seeing had an influence on what he was saying. Let me say this one more time. What he was seeing had an influence on what he was saying. What you are seeing will have an influence on what you are saying. So be careful what you are seeing. Be careful what you are watching, because it has an influence on what you are speaking. Whatever you're watching throughout the day, whatever you're focused on, is building your communication. It's building what you speak. It's building your message, right? The reason why the world today sounds so dumb is because everyone is watching Netflix, right? Everybody is watching Netflix today. And there are amazing shows on Netflix. There are so many documentaries which are amazing. But you guys only watch Money Heist for some reason. That's why you sound so dumb. You know why celebrities sound dumb today? Celebrities were never dumb before. Okay, celebrities were very intelligent before during interviews. Today, the reason why celebrities sound dumb is because everyone is watching Netflix, right? And you're watching Money Heist. What you are seeing has an influence on what you are saying. But more importantly, what you are seeing has an influence on what you are praying. What you are seeing will have an influence on how you're praying. Your focus determines the power of your prayers. Whatever you're focused on will determine how powerful your prayers are. Your focus determines the power of your prayers. And the servant, he was focused on the enemy, right? He was focused on the problem. He was focused on how big the enemy is, how many horses they had, how many chariots they had. He was focused on what the enemy was doing. And because he was focused on what the enemy was doing, his prayers were powerless. His prayers had no power. That's why Elisha had to first say, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Every time God spoke to someone, an angel came, they had to say, do not be afraid. Because you need to take fear out from your prayers. Right? Because if you're honest now, most of us in this room, most people watching online, you're focused on your problem while you're praying. You're focused on what the enemy is doing most of the time. You're praying, that is good. That's good that you're praying. But the problem is your prayers are powerless. Because your focus is on the enemy, right? You're always focused on what's going wrong in your life. And in case you're a Christian, you're over spiritual, then you're focused on, oh, there's a dark cloud. There's an attack, brother. I see something wrong with you. I see there's a problem. You know people who always say, I see there's something bad? They are not prophetic. They are absolutely not prophetic, right? Because most of our prayers, if you're honest now, they sound like something like this. Help me, Lord, the enemy is attacking my health. Right? Help me, Lord, the enemy is attacking my children. Help me, Lord, the enemy is attacking my job. Help me, Lord, the enemy is attacking my finances. Help me, Lord. They're prayers, but they're prayers focused on the enemy. You're focused on the enemy. And because you're focused on the enemy, guess what has entered your prayers? Fear. Fear has infiltrated your prayers. Fear cannot have place in your prayers. The first thing you should get rid of is fear. Because fear is the worst motivator of prayer. I need to ruffle some feathers right now because I know a lot of people use fear as motivation, right? And I'm talking about Christians. I'm talking about Christianity. I know there are so many people preaching salvation based on fear, right? They'll tell you about hell. They'll show you pictures of hell. There are books in front of a church that I've seen that have pictures of hell. They'll try to show people burning on hell, and they look like tandoori chicken, the red one. They'll tell you the exact temperature of hell, by the way. They'll tell you the chemical composition of sulfur. They'll tell you all these things about hell. It looks like this, by the way, okay? They'll tell you it's red, it's black, right? They'll scare you as if they know more about hell than they know about God. Right? I have to tell you this. When I just moved to India to start Limitless Church, I remember we went to this, it was a Christian leadership conference, okay? That was the first conference I attended in India like that. And I know Fraser was with us, but I met a gentleman, a little older gentleman, and he was dressed up pretty well. He was dressed in a suit, dark blue suit, and he had a look on him, okay? He looked like a pastor because he was like this, right? This is how pastors stand. They don't, their neck is not very loose. They're very like that, right? And so he wanted to say hi to me. So he came up to me. He gave me his hand and he said, "Shalom." And so I gave my hand and I said, "Gavin, nice meeting you." Right? I thought he's introducing himself. Right? I thought his name was Shalom, but he was like, "Oh, no, not my name. By Shalom, I mean peace. Don't you know that?" I said, "I'm sorry, I don't know. I have a friend called Shalom." So I thought, okay, peace. I did this, and I think this peace pissed him off. And so, he removed his card, and he said, "I'm a pastor." And he said, "This is my ministry." And the name of this ministry was Heaven's Gates or Hell's Flames. Heaven's Gates or Hell's Flames, right? I took his card and I said, "Wow, you deal with both services? That's amazing. You're an agent for heaven and hell. Congratulations, you're the first I've met." Right? But we do this all the time, right? We somehow, we build up we use fear to lead people to Christ. We use fear to get people saved. We use fear to connect people with God. We use fear to get people to give even, right? We use the fear of sickness to get people connected to God. We use the fear of failure to get people connected to God. You don't come to church, you will fail in your exams. You will fail in your business, right? We say that all the time. We use the fear of the end times to get people connected to God. The end times, the book of Revelation is such a beautiful picture, but we use it for fear. And we think it's okay. We think, what's the problem with it? It's all right, right? We have to warn people about this red and black thing, right, called hell. We need to warn people about hell. We think it's okay, but here's the problem. If you connect with God based on fear, then I will have to scare you every Sunday to keep you connected with God. Right? If you got saved based on fear, then you will have to be scared all your Christian life so that you can get connected to God. Right? I will have to keep you scared to keep you closer to God. And the devil loves it. He absolutely loves it when you connect with God based on fear. Why? Because then he can keep tormenting you, and you will think it's God tormenting you to keep you closer to him. Devil loves it when you connect with God based on fear, because then he can keep on attacking you, and he knows you won't be able to attack him back. Why? Because the devil knows something that you don't know. He knows that when you pray with fear, your prayers are powerless. Fear makes your prayers powerless. So how do you pray? How do you pray without fear? Let me read that portion of scripture again. Verse 16, 17. "Don't be afraid," the prophet answered. He told the servant, "Don't be afraid. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And then Elisha prayed, "Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see." Then the Lord opened the eyes of the servant. He looked up and he saw the hills were full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. You know what this was? This was the army of angels. The servant could now see the army of angels. How cool would it be to see an army of angels, right? How amazing. But before he could not see, the only thing he could see before was the army of the enemy. Now he could see the army of angels. Question, which one was real? Which one was real? The army of angels or the army of the enemy? Which one was real? Both, right? Both were real, both were present, both were active, both were ready to fight, right? The question is, which one was he focused on? And here's the reality of life. At every point in your life, you're always going to have two realities. One is the reality of what the enemy is doing, and two is the reality of what God is doing. Every time. Why? Because at all times, the enemy is always working and God is always working. Both God and the enemy are always working. They never stop working in your life. Right? Even when you don't see it, the enemy is still working. I changed the lyrics a little bit. Also, even when you don't see it, God is always working. The question is, which one are you focused on? When you focus on what the enemy is doing, then you're just increasing the problem. When you're focused on the enemy is doing, you operate out of fear. When you're focusing on your problem, you're praying out of fear. But when you focus on what God is doing, you're praying from His presence. And the presence of God is the best place, the most powerful place to pray from. When you pray from the presence of God, you are praying with the power of God. When you pray from the presence of God, you are praying with the authority of God. When you pray from the presence of God, you are praying with the glory of God. That is how you pray like crazy. From the presence of God. And this is the prayer that was prayed before he prayed. And Elisha prayed, "Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see." Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see. This was the prayer before the prayer. This was the prayer that brought the power into the prayer. This was the prayer that invited the presence into the prayer. And this was the prayer that released angels into the prayer. Open my eyes, Lord, so that I may see. This is the prayer that you should pray before you pray. Every time you're praying for something, I'm not talking about casual prayers, okay? I'm not talking about thank you, Lord, for this. I'm not talking about the grace for meals. But every time you're praying for something big, you want something. It has to happen. You want something big. You're praying for it. This is a crazy prayer. Just before you pray this prayer. Open my eyes, Lord, so that I may see. Open my eyes, Lord, so that I may see your power. Open my eyes, Lord, so that I may see your presence. Open my eyes, Lord, so that I may see your protection. Open my eyes, Lord, so that I may see those who are with me are more than those who are with them. Open my eyes, Lord, so that I may see that the hills are full of the angel armies. Open my eyes, Lord, so that I may see that all of heaven is with me. Open my eyes, Lord, so that I may see. The best prayers are not prayed with eyes closed. The best prayers are prayed with eyes open. But I'm talking about the eyes of your spirit. Those are the best prayers you can pray. When you pray like this, when you pray this prayer before you pray, what you're doing is you're inviting the presence into your prayer. And no longer you're praying to God, but now you're praying with God. You're praying with His army. You're praying with His angels. You're praying along with heaven. And nothing can stand against an army of heaven. Angels are not cute little creatures that you draw with wings. I don't even know if angels have wings. Angels are scary creatures. They are powerful creatures. They are mighty creatures. Every time an angel appeared in the Bible, he had to say, "Do not be afraid," because the person was freaking out. Angels are powerful, and God has assigned angels to bring the answer to your prayers. It is angels that bring answers to your prayers. But all the time you were praying till now, you know what your angels were doing? They were just standing there. The enemy was fighting, you are shouting, and the angels is just watching because you weren't aware. Don't pray like that. I want you to pray powerful prayers. Every time before you pray your prayers, pray this prayer before you pray. Pray this prayer. Open my eyes, Lord, so that I may see. Open my eyes, Lord, so that I may see the army of angels that are with me. Pray this prayer, and then after you pray this, then pray like crazy. And then you see what's going to happen with your prayer. Every angel will come down to fight for you. Open my eyes, Lord, so that I may see. The best prayers are prayers prayed with your eyes open, your spiritual eyes open. Can we all stand? Can we all stand?
Unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone. Will you unravel me? You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone. No longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child. Come on, let's declare it. Of God. You do not have the spirit of fear. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. Chosen me, love has called my name, and I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins. From my mother's womb, from my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Love has called my name, and I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. Come on, fear is living right now. I'm no longer, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. You have no right. I'm no longer am a child